Hiya. I'm doing a video question and answer, and some lovely lady asked the question, why did we agree upon the fact of being a victim of the Matrix? And it's a good question because there's different reasons of why one is here, and I'll tell you a journey I did on a gentleman. So a few weeks back, but there's lots of things that this is amalgamation of lots of people that I've worked on. So anyway, I was working with this one gentleman and needed to find out why he came here. For some reason it went back, and we went outside, followed his consciousness stream, which went outside of the Matrix, and ended up in sort of like a massive consciousness. And I saw him being born, and what happened when he was born, it was just, like water, but I don't see it as water. It's like this whitish mass, and then he broke away and became an individual consciousness. And what he did, he went to a reality where a small section of consciousness was creating. So he plugged himself in there to experience a 3D reality. Had his experiences. This reality didn't have any matrix around it, so there was no control, no manipulation, no abuse as such. There was no programming. So he went from that reality and he left, and then he went to another collective to experience another reality with a different set of consciousness. And then I think he went to 4. And then by the end of 4, he came to the conclusion that he really wanted to heal everything that had happened in the last 4 lifetimes, because he became imbalanced and he wanted to evolve. He wanted to understand himself more, and he wanted to heal. And that was his intent of coming into the Matrix. Unfortunately, he didn't realise how rough the Matrix is. He didn't realise, because actually as he was coming into the Matrix, he got attacked, which he wasn't expecting, and traumatized. His consciousness got traumatized. What they did there is outside the Matrix, there's like loads of AI, drones, like dragons. There's really weird stuff going on outside of this Matrix. And some of these drone-like things can read the consciousness and understand the consciousness. So they actually took away his intent. They read part of his consciousness and said, right, I'm having that. And this part of his consciousness understood why he was here, why he came here, and what he wanted to achieve while being here. So anyway, when he entered into the collective, he was pretty screwed up anyway. I mean, he was missing a huge chunk of his female energy and his male energy. So his protection was down, and the reason why he came here had been taken away. So it was harder to connect to that consciousness, because it had been taken outside of the Matrix and stored in this storage container. But the reason why he was here is he wanted to evolve. And then I was working with another gentleman, and he'd come in, and he was actually a consciousness that was helping break the Matrix down. And interestingly, I found part of his consciousness on a ship outside of the Matrix. So I was like, "You want a ship?" And I didn't know if it was good or bad, or if been taken or kidnapped. But anyway, so I went and investigated. And as I went into the ship, I saw all these screens on the wall, and it was like all like disaster stuff in 3D land, like so it was like Earth. So I could see human beings and like volcanoes going off, to terrorist attacks, to like. So I found Timothy on the ship, and I'm like, okay, I was speaking to this part of his consciousness, and I was asked, what is this all about? And he showed me at the bottom of the ship was these 3 beings, 3 light beings. And he said these 3 beings are psychically connected to the collective inside the Matrix, and they're reading the the potentiality of what we are going to create. And anything that is negative, they are automatically picking up and putting it on the screen. And if this becomes very dangerous, what we do is if we see something like a terrorist attack that's going to be created from the collective, then we will pass this on to consciousness that's projecting itself. So I see two types of consciousness that are helping break this matrix down. And there's the blue consciousness. There's like a ring of blue consciousness that circles the matrix and then projects itself down into the collective. And then outside of this blue, just above this blue consciousness, is a gold consciousness that's also projecting itself down inside the matrix. And what he's saying, we pass this information on to this collective, to this blue or gold consciousness, and then they try and counteract these belief structures, because it's our beliefs that create reality. And if there's beliefs that shit's going to happen, the world economy is going to collapse, to stuff that really they're looking for, stuff that's going to affect all of us, what they do is try to counteract that. Because to try to stop disasters from happening. Now disasters do happen, and we do have terrorist attacks, and we do have shit that goes on in this reality. But from seeing what I'm seeing now, that would be a hell of a lot more if we didn't have the help that we're having from consciousness inside the matrix and outside the matrix that's helping this collective evolve. And then there is consciousness inside this matrix, I think, that just got caught up in it, that through beliefs that came in and go, yeah, okay, I want to experience life, and then got caught up in the belief structures. So maybe there was a time when the matrix was good. I don't know, I haven't done a journey on it, but two people have mentioned this to me, that the matrix was of good intent, and then it got taken over, and loads of shit started happening, and negative belief structures, and then programming and splitting of consciousness and stuff like that. But that wasn't necessarily the way. It was just a safe place to experience reality, but more intently, so we could evolve. Now, what I see happening is that above this matrix is a reality that some of the consciousness inside this collective consciousness, inside this matrix, is creating. And when I visit this reality is out of the matrix. The matrix knows it's there, but it can't get access to it. It's like vibrating at a different rate. And the consciousness inside this reality, all it's doing is understanding itself, understanding what consciousness can do. And a lot of us are connected to this reality. And then above that, the next step we go to is oneness. When I go into that reality, I can't even explain it, because it's really hard to explain. There's kind of like, there's so much calmness and peace. There's no thought or anything. It's just oneness. That's all I can explain to you. So there is life after the matrix, but there is a huge effort of bringing this matrix down. And even though people are evolving, it seems to be it should happen a lot faster than it is. The matrix is slowing it down because of all the splits of consciousness and the programming and mind control and abuse that is happening. And this is why the other consciousness has come in to help counteract that and bring this matrix down. So also interestingly is that the blue and gold consciousness is seen very differently with the collective. When I see the blue and gold consciousness come into the collective, they get treated like aliens, and this would be reflected in this reality. So all the awake people with that don't conform to the belief structures, the religions, to the the science to all that, when consciousness starts rejecting that, we get ostracized, and I see that in the collective as well, inside the matrix. And that's why we project it out into this reality. That consciousness is seen as different and is treated differently. Anyway, okay, I hope that helps. Another question answered. Okay, you take care. Bye.